June 12th.
Oh, that's crazy. Already. I mean, it seems like just a couple days ago, we're like, oh, yeah, May is over and April is over. And yeah.
No, we are literally onward and upward. It is Wednesday, June 12th. Father's Day weekend is coming up around the corner, right? So maybe
Yeah.
an early happy Father's Day to you, Tom, to
Yeah.
Scott,
Same
to
to
my
you.
dad, all the fathers out there in the world. We're not
That's
going to be able
cool.
to see you Sunday, so let's get our flowers a little early this Sunday.
That's
Let's
right.
start on a Wednesday night, a happy Father's Day. And it is a Wednesday night, which means it's time for MHI. He is Thomas Hall. I'm Luke Patterson. Joined with us as always is Scott Kennedy on the ones and twos. Broncos country. Here we are. Mandatory minicamp. Tom, what do you know? Courtland Sutton showed up.
It's in the books. They decided that they'd done enough great work, and they're taking the last day off, which is fine. It seems like a lot of teams are doing that this year. There's quite a few that I've seen, but yeah, I'm glad that he showed up. That which is good. I mean, mandatory mini camp. I figured he would show up. We have to remember too. He had ankle surgery, so he was recovering from that. He's probably pretty rusty. So a lot of things we're going to talk about, maybe a moot point in training camp, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
Yeah, we're going to get into Courtland Sutton. He had some interesting things to say, did not pull any punches at the podium yesterday at Broncos mandatory mini camp. Today, the fellows did work out. Looking at Mike Klis's Twitter right now over on X, and it looks like there's a home run derby going on tonight down at UC Health, Coors Field. I guess what it is. UC Health Home Run Derby at Coors Field. Coors Field is where the Rockies play in Denver. And wouldn't you know, Courtland Sutton's the first name on that list. He's back from mandatory minicamp. He's participating in the Home Run Derby. I don't know. Maybe he's not as unhappy with the Broncos as we may thought he was.
Yeah, I mean, he wants a new contract, but he's not. It doesn't seem like he's gonna carry this out into the regular season if he doesn't get the raise. So, which is good. I mean, you really should be there, right? And I know you command a little bit more leverage, so to speak, if you are not in camp and you're holding out. But at the same time, you get a little bit more respect and a little bit, maybe easier to work with kind of attitude when it comes to a new contract.
Well, and what's he looking for, right? I think at the bottom line, we know he wants guaranteed money. Don't we all? That's all we're looking for is guaranteed money. No one's looking for a promise or a hope. Everybody's looking for cash in hand. That's what Courtland Sutton wants. And when he's up there on the podium talking about wanting to win a Lombardi, he's wanting to be in the Broncos Ring of Fame, right? And he's non-committal towards training camp. I mean, there are a lot of different messages that we're going to look at on this show. We're also going to talk about Courtland Sutton's performance or lack thereof, whatever a performance can mean at mandatory minicamp this time of year. Some videos out there. We could digest those of positional drills. I talked to some of my friends and my buddies that were out there, and we'll get into some of that insight and more. Excuse me. But before we do, let's get into our guy, DVA. What's up, Broncos country? Make sure you hit that like button on the way in, share on all platforms, and subscribe if you have not done so already. A huge tip of the cap and thank you to my friend, my brother Dylan Von Arks, for filling in for me last Wednesday. Man, I've been having fun times with the vet bills, pet bills. Yeah. Everybody knows that struggle in life, but Dylan, you can catch Dylan every Saturday night with Ron White here on these airwaves, 6 p.m. Mountain for OBV. I encourage everybody to tune in and give Dylan a follow.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I never co-hosted with Dylan, so it was nice to get him in here and do some chatting. And but I missed you, man. It's the way it is.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. I've given all kinds of love, Father's Day love, bro love. No, Dylan, man. I was gonna tell you, Dylan. I'm a Star Wars nerd. All right. And I don't think that's any surprise on this show, Tom, but Dylan kind of always reminds me like of Darth Vader a little bit when I'm co-hosting with him or watching OBV on set. Why? Because he's got that chair, like the Emperor Palpatine's chair. I almost need one of those chairs because I just got some old office chair, but I need like an Emperor Palpatine chair, something that gives me a little more authority and a little bit more power like Dylan over on Saturday night. But no, it's funny. Huge tip of the cap. Roy Osborne, I see you in the chat. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Daniel. MLB. Test prep. I love MBL, excuse me. Dylan is our sweet baby boy. Must be protected at all starts or all costs. Dylan's the man, and you can always check out what he is writing up over at milehighhuddle.com, where mandatory minicamp is officially kicked off, right? We've been wondering about it. We've been getting through the drolls of summer, if you will, with voluntary organized team activities, and this is the first real benchmark for the new season, Tom. When you think about it, it's kind of like getting the band back together, although you're just not playing the music at the concert that you're going to perform at. I mean, it's a lot of rehearsal, it's a lot of going through your instruments. Talk to me about minicamp. What does minicamp mean right now, Wednesday, June 12th, for the Denver Broncos?
Well, it's nice to get everybody familiar. There's a lot of new faces on this team. A lot of changes have happened, so that's good. It's good in that respect to get everybody used to each other. Getting a little bit more comfortable in Sean Payton's second year, probably commanding this team. Getting the coaches together. There's some new coaches. That to me is what I really kind of take away from it. What happens in minicamp though? At this point, when they have no pads on, they're just throwing the ball. They're just going through the motions. Anything that really happens there, I don't really put too much stock in because, everybody's doing great right now. Sure. Playing against air is easy. And then you put the pads on and go against live players. It turns out to be a lot different. So, having that camaraderie started, having that getting to know period is all good, which is kind of why we were, a little disappointed that Courtland Sutton wasn't showing up to the voluntary camps, at least for that aspect. So,
well, I mean, you got a brand new first-round quarterback, and we've talked about this for the past couple weeks now, Bo Nix, and you need Bo Nix to get together with Courtland Sutton. So I don't know, they can get to know each other. They could start working together. I mean, we've all trained new people. We train the new guy or the new gal at work, and there's a feeling out process to that. There's a little bit of an evaluation, and this isn't so much of I'm going to train you to do my job. This is more of, hey, you two guys are going to be working together for the foreseeable future. Time to start having success. I hope you like each other. I hope you get along. Hope you can work great. I mean, that's really what it is. So I can understand why some fans are a little bored with mandatory minicamp, right? They don't have the pads on. They're not smacking each other, no tackling or anything like that. Again, the collective bargaining agreement limits players, and it's not like yesteryear, right? With these guys, really just the dog days of summer going after it. But people are starting to wonder too, when it comes to mandatory minicamp, is this the time period that Bo Nix really gets his first impression, gets to give a first impression to Sean Payton? Sean was asked point blank, when can we know who the QB1 is? And he gave a very revealing answer. You can read about that over at milehighhuddle.com. I'm not going to break any news here when I say that Sean was non-committal to the answer. Of course, it's a day-by-day thing, right? We could kind of figure out some of those cliches that Sean Payton is going through, but there's some mind games going on with the quarterback position, Tom, especially here in Denver. I feel like radio stations, rival podcasts, and here even on our show, I'm talking about it now. People have looked into the order of reps that the quarterbacks are getting. On day one, Zach Wilson may get the starting reps, and then the second day it's Bo, or the second day it's Jarrett Stidham. I mean, is there anything to read into these shared reps or the order in which these guys are getting it? For all intents and purposes, it seems like a three-man race on Wednesday, June 12th.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not just going to give it to Bo Nix right away, obviously, but yeah, everyone in that building wants him to be the one that comes out on top and is the starter. But, it's, to me, between Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix, I could see that. But throwing Zach Wilson, I've voiced my opinion on Zach Wilson. Giving him a bunch of first-team reps when he's not the future of this team is a bit surprising. But again, if this is happening into training camp where you're seeing this rotation, everybody's getting there, that's when I'd start to get concerned, because you really want that number one guy to take most of the reps, and you want that person to kind of come out sooner rather than later and not play this, the third string guy that, we know is going to be third strings taking first team reps, often. I think that would be troublesome.
Yeah, I don't foresee Zach Wilson starting this season. I think it's going to be tough for him to make the team, if we're being honest. And it happens every year, right, Tom? Where you get like another journeyman quarterback in, maybe from the CFL, maybe from the championship game that's coming up. I don't know. I mean, or just happened. Like all these developmental leagues, there's talent out there. Talent can come from anywhere. I would be shocked if Bo Nix isn't the starter in the regular season. I still remain pretty stout in that, but look, maybe Courtland Sutton can help him win that job. He'd have to be here at
Maybe.
training camp. He's here now, right? He's at the home run derby, I think, right now in downtown Denver, hitting baseballs. I mean, that's fun. I'm glad you could hit baseballs. Can we catch some footballs? Because
Yeah.
Courtland struggled a little bit yesterday, Tom. You saw the videos. I saw the videos. I talked to some buddies that were out there. I mean, you miss voluntary OTAs. You're rehabbing your ankle. You're doing your thing in Florida. And the very first rep of a positional drill in which a coach is throwing you a ball and you drop it, that's a bad look on top
Yeah.
of asking for a raise.
Yeah, I mean, normally nobody would care. Normally, if everything was going smoothly, nobody would care. Oh, dropped a easy pass. It happens in practice. But since we're all talking about Courtland Sutton being disgruntled and not coming into the voluntary camps, and now he drops a pass, it's like now it's big news. Oh, he's not focused, or he's rusty. But chances are he probably he is a little football rusty, because he probably hasn't been out running a lot of routes. Like I said early in the program, he had ankle surgery, so he was probably not out there doing football drills very much. He's probably out there, lifting weights and maybe doing some conditioning drills and stuff. But while he rehabbed it, so he probably is a little rusty. But I don't know. It's a great thing to argue about because of all the stuff that's going on before he dropped that ball.
You know who never drops the ball? Our guy Michael Renquillo, always picking the ball up, always picking our slack up. Good evening, Thomas and Luke on MHI. Go Broncos. Thank you, Michael. Really, really appreciate your support. I'll take a little bit of a different position and push back against that. I think that if someone came to me and I'm the boss of the organization, right? I'm Greg Penner or even Sean Payton, and you're effectively the GM, right? And someone's coming to me saying, Luke, I want a raise. Well, show me why you deserve a raise. And the very first opportunity that you could show me, you're not there. Why? Because it's voluntary. So I can't fault you for it on paper, right? Now, the human element, and there might be a little disdain towards it, but I don't think it's personal overall. I think Sean Payton has been supportive of Courtland Sutton, at least publicly. I don't know what's happening privately, but on day one of mandatory minicamp, you show up, you drop some balls, and then we shut it down for the day. And then, I mean, we go to the press conference. You have a good press conference. You speak honestly. I don't think Courtland said anything out of turn, and we'll go into some of Courtland Sutton's answers here in just a little bit. But it's a bad look for a guy that's asking for a raise, who's already set to make 13 plus million this next year. He's going to be 30 in 2025. He's had injury struggles. I think it kind of surmises the whole situation when you look at it, Tom, because Courtland Sutton, I think, has had an underwhelming career as a Denver Bronco. I think he's had some highs. I think he's had probably more lows than highs, especially as of late. Last season, fantastic. He balled out of control. Now we're asking for a raise on top of that. I could argue that you just started to play in your contract right now. Why would we give you another raise, Courtland Sutton?
Oh, I agree with that completely. I don't think he should have been asking for a raise yet anyway. He played okay, but it wasn't so great that it's time to ask for a raise.
Right.
It wasn't. So you're right, it wasn't a good look, but at the same time, once you get in a training camp, if that's continuing to happen, then I think get worried. But we probably would have had another day, and he probably would have been fine of this mandatory mini camp, and but they shut it down early, and everybody was great. So we'll never know what the third day had to in store.
Well, speaking of greatness, our guy Phil McLaughlin coming in here. Good afternoon, Thomas, Luke, and Deacon Scott. Do you guys think that the Broncos will come to an agreement with Courtland Sutton? Hashtag Buckham and MHH for life. I got to tell you, Phil, I don't. I was feeling pretty good about it until yesterday, and until I started talking with some friends, until I started scrolling through social media, until I started reading milehighhuddle.com. I got to tell you, I think that the Broncos have dug their heels in. Courtland's dug his heels in. He called it a stalemate multiple times in the press conference yesterday, Courtland Sutton. He didn't shy away from questions either. And Courtland's always been good with the media. I think sometimes he gets a little nervous when he talks and he can misspeak at times, don't we all? Right. But at the same time, man, I thought a true alpha, a true wide receiver one would have went up there, would have made his demands, and would have backed him up with a stellar practice. I mean, you want to change the Broncos' mind. Here's your opportunity to do it. Dropping passes and warm-up drills from your positional coach, while they may not be the end of the world, I completely agree with you there. It's June. It's not the end of the world. And it's not the first time a starting wide receiver's dropped a ball in practice. All right. We talking about practice, Allen Iverson somewhere. But at the same time, man, it's a bad look. And Phil, it pisses me off, if I'm going to be completely honest. I look at it and I'm like, really? This is what we're at? Courtland's always kind of had some drop ball issues, hasn't he? Throughout his entire career, and we're still there. Had some drop balls last year, had a lot of penalties last year, a lot of boneheaded fumbles last year. I mean, we can really go down the list and start to look at it and maybe see the way the Broncos have seen it. But I ask you this, Tom, let's say it's training camp and Courtland is there and he's not holding out, or he's holding in, or I don't know what the crazy circumstance is. He starts dropping passes from Bo Nix. What's Bo supposed to do? You're not supposed to say anything, right? Because you're a rookie. Although you're supposed to be this first-round quarterback that's going to bring the Broncos back to glory. I mean, at a certain point, what are we trying to develop here? Are we trying to make the old star wide receiver happy? Are we trying to mute the young kid who's just going to figure it out? I mean, I just don't understand how you jam all these pieces together for a summer and think that it's going to work between a disgruntled wide receiver one and a rookie who's never taken an NFL snap.
Right. Well, I think to answer the question, I think it has less to do with his performance during mini camp and stuff like that, and more to do with Sean Payton trying to get rid of the old guard and bring in his new guys. Why would he want to, pay a receiver to stay here when he's trying to get rid? I mean, you've already seen it. Justin Simmons gone. You've seen others are gone. So I think that's going to come into more into play than his performance in training camp, I think. But yeah, if he's dropping passes in training camp, then there's a real issue. I mean, I think there's a real issue, and then they're going to look to offload him at that point.
Yeah, I'm shocked that we're still in this situation, Tom. I mean, the offseason before the draft, we couldn't figure this out what does either team think is going to happen? Does Courtland Sutton's team, and it's so funny because I'm over on Spot Rack and I'm reading and trying to look at his agent, and under agent, it just says the agency. Apparently the agency's name is Milk and Honey Sports. So I like that. Milk and Honey Sport. If I was looking for all the money I could get as a wide receiver, I would probably go with Milk and Honey Sports. Sounds like, some folks that aren't exactly going to be taking nickels and dimes. David Papa Bear coming in here. Good evening, Broncos country. 12-5. Still giving a 12-5 for a disgruntled Courtland Sutton, for a rookie quarterback. Man, I love the optimism, David. I'm a little frustrated today just because I don't know what's going on with Courtland. I just wish this could have been handled already. And I'm not necessarily frustrated at Courtland, but this is kind of an organizational decision, Tom. At the end of the day, they should have made that decision last spring. Do we want to pay Courtland and keep him happy and keep him on the team, or do we want to move him? But no, we couldn't do that. We had to move this from the winter to the spring. Now we're here in early summer. It's ridiculous. I don't know why Sean Payton and the Walton Penner ownership group have handled it this way.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bummer that it's bled into, this year, but also the reports, it was like $2 to $3 million. It's not that much money. Again, like, really, are they butting heads over that little amount? Now, I don't know if that's, that's a rumored number or whatnot. So who knows what the number really is, but yeah. And I know if everybody asked for $2 to $3 more million, it could get out of hand, but
I was just going to say that
one wide receiver, it doesn't seem like a huge leap. So I think there's more to it than that. There's a lot more, but that we don't know that's happening, that's drawing this out. But it can't be too bad, because if it was a kind of a terrible situation where they were really, kind of mad at each other, he wouldn't have shown up for the voluntary or the mandatory camp.
Well, he's certainly down in downtown Denver right now hitting baseballs in the home run derby. At least that's what Mike Liss is saying. So I don't know, man. He can hit baseball still. So I don't know.
Maybe he'll
Maybe
get
the
a
Rock.
contract with the Rockies. You never
Hey,
know.
they can use all the help they can get for all you baseball fans out there. I don't know what it's like to be a baseball fan. I live in Colorado. So this, we watch other things here because we don't watch the Rockies. Keith Brugman, our guy, RMSN. I see you, man. Keep doing your thing. Does it need to be Bo Nix? Should Jarrett Stidham get the nod if he looks the best after year 2? Should the former number 2 in Wilson take reps and get a chance at being the starter? It's great to see you, Thomas and Luke. Good question, Keith. Yes, it needs to be Bo Nix because the NFL and time waits for no one. There are people out there that feverishly are calling for Sean Payton's head yesterday. They do not believe in Sean Payton, so much so that some Broncos fans are already starting to consider, do you bring in Bill Belichick next year and just get rid of Sean and go through this whole thing all over again? Sean needs to be proven right, and there's only one way to do it, and it's with Bo Nix. All the pressure is on Bo Nix and Sean Payton right now, period. Sean got his guy. He can't make any excuses. Now, whether or not Bo Nix is going to make it, that remains to be seen. Right now, you hear all the good things about Bo Nix, as you should. You're not hearing all this craziness out of Chicago about Caleb Williams, right? That's what I like to hear in Denver. That's not happening. Jarrett Stidham cannot start. Period. He cannot start the season. Will he start some games this season? Yes, but it won't be regular game season number 1. Why? You have to get this fan base back on board. A rookie quarterback in the first round, it's the only way to do it.
Well, I'll push back a little bit on that. I think Stidham could get the first couple games if Nix is still just, he's getting it, but no, they're not ready to just throw him right out there because Stidham's a little bit more of a steady hand. If Zach Wilson is getting to start week 1, then there's an issue, right? Stidham's terrible. Bo Nix isn't ready, and Wilson's out there throwing interceptions.
Injuries happened.
Yeah. It's or there's injuries. I think it should be Bo Nix from week 1, but I can see a scenario where it's Stidham for maybe the first couple games. Bo Nix takes over for the rest of the year, but I don't think that's optimal. Like you said, Bo Nix has got to be the one that changes the fortunes of the Broncos because Jarrett Stidham's not going to. We know what we have in Jarrett Stidham. Yeah. He's not, no matter what they're saying, and how many people think he has an advantage because he's got a year in Sean Payton's system. We've seen him play. He's not the answer.
No, and look, I shouldn't say anyone, but he looked great against the third stringers against Arizona last year, right? And he's probably going to look great against them this year. The Colts? I think they actually are playing the Cardinals again in the preseason. Seems like every year they play the Cardinals. But no, man, you bring up a good point. Week 1 at Seattle, September 8th. Man, that place is like hell, right? It's get used to play. Broncos should be used to playing in this loud stadium because the Kansas City Chiefs replicate it with the noise and the craziness. But man, that's an interesting decision for Sean Payton, right? Do you want to ease your rookie quarterback into it and give Jarrett Stidham the start? Does he give you the best chance to win? Or do you say baptism by fire? Hey, rookie, welcome to the NFL. We're going to kick this off on the road against the 12th man. Pretty daunting task for a head coach to give a rookie quarterback, but what an opportunity for a rookie quarterback. Whether or not you win or lose the game, at least you can start to earn the trust of your team. That's where it's truly earned. It's not earned and won in training camp. Everybody's out there working and they're out there grinding. But where you truly learn about a man is on the football field, on Sundays, on Thursdays, and now on Saturdays, right? It seems like they're switching the games up all the time on us.
Saturdays, Thursdays, Mondays, Sundays. Who knows? We're gonna have football every day of the week pretty soon.
I love it.
You know what? I do hope that he starts week 1. I hope Bo Nix is the real deal because that means that we're gonna see hopefully see this turn around for the Denver Broncos, which the fans need it. You and I need it. We got to have a turnaround. But I do think that it's already seems like a lot of people are expecting so much from Bo Nix. I mean, people are projecting. I've seen some pretty wild stats out there projecting what Bo Nix is going to do in his first year, and I'm just like, whoa! If people are expecting that, oh man, they're going to have some rude awakenings because like some people are like, oh yeah, he'll have 30 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. I mean, or even more. And I'm like, man, the record for a rookie quarterback touchdowns, Justin Herbert, 31. Most of them are in the mid twos that have really kind of good rookie season, mid 20s, good rookie seasons. It's like if he has 25 touchdowns, I'm gonna be happy in his rookie.
Ooh, 25 touch. Hell yeah. You know what? I don't give a rip if he had 16 touchdowns. How many wins did he get? Like, let's talk about this team, because you're exactly right, Tom. Like, those stats they're nice. They're ranges, right? And those ranges we could kind of figure out, is a team going to be competitive? You don't know what their record's going to be, but 25 touchdowns, that tells you and me and everybody else that he is very competitive. The NFL is not too big for him. And I don't know, man, it's just going to be interesting because you've got a guy in Bo Nix who has so much college experience, and we know college and the NFL are nothing alike. But I can't help but wonder, and I kind of want to give him a small benefit of the doubt that he may be a little more prepared than most. And that's what Sean says. Of course, Sean's going to say it. It's his guy. He's fallen in love with Bo Nix since last October, November. The timing of that is ironic, by the way, right? With Russell Wilson and what the team was doing and all those sorts of things. But it's going to be interesting when you look at it. I do wonder how Courtland Sutton is ultimately going to impact Bo Nix's development in training camp. I mean, before we can even get to the regular season, there are some videos out there. Our friend Romy Bean, right? She's posting some videos of Bo Nix to Courtland Sutton in a positional drill, if you will. That's cool to see. That's what I've been wanting to see. I just want them to be working on that and building that together. Courtland was asked, about not attending the voluntary offseason program. Said, quote, "I was down in Florida doing some rehab." Talked about that ankle surgery at length, Tom. And I don't think Courtland makes excuses. I do think he's a very tough player, but you do have to ultimately look out for yourself. He said he was in contact with head coach Sean Payton. They both kind of knew the plan, but was uncommitted when it came to training camp. We'll see, kind of a thing. Man, I don't know. That doesn't sound good. You're telling me you're in a stalemate with the team, and then someone asks you about training camp, and it's a we'll see kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, but he does have a little bit of leverage, I would say, just because there isn't a star wide receiver on this team. Not yet. Marvin Mims, I think, is got the potential to be. So really, if you want a good number one wide receiver, not great, but a solid one, to help your rookie quarterback, Sutton is pretty much the guy. So they may come to an agreement. I don't think Sutton's going to I don't think he's going to, not show up for training camp. I think he'll show up and they'll work something out at the last minute and everything will be fine.
Phil McLaughlin coming in here with an interesting challenge. Guys, grade the following: special teams, offense, defense. Write it down and let's reevaluate after game 7. Man, Phil, you're giving me a tall order tonight. Tom too, man. This is tough. Like, cause here's what, and I'll do it, right? I'm not going to get out of it. I'm not going to weasel my way out. I'll do it. But it's so damn hard right now when I think about it, because Tom's right. He said it at the top of the show. A lot of new players are on this roster. A lot of new numbers, different numbers. It's going to take me some getting used to out there at training camp, right? It usually does for a few days, and then the numbers change and guys are waived and all those sorts of things. Some new coaches here and there as well. Special teams unit, man, that's really, really hard for me to evaluate. It was an improved unit last year. I'm going to give them a baseline. How about a C to start on special teams? I'm looking for a lot of young guys that want to make future earnings on this team. That's what special teams has to be made up of. It's going to have some source and some bad times. What are those bad times going to look like? They're going to look like young players playing on special teams. They're going to be bonehead mistakes. Hopefully there aren't a lot of drop balls, but I look at Marvin Mims and he's the highlight of that group. Everyone knows special teams is a lot more than just returning the ball. What's the kicking game going to look like, right? I mean, the Broncos are still figuring out life post Brandon McManus with Will Lutz, right? It's just, there's a lot to it. Special teams, I give a C. Offense, man, I got to give a C- to this offense right now. The offensive line is concerning. What's going on with Javonte Williams, Samaje Perine? You could have a very young running back room as well. The defense, I'm going to give a D. Tom, I'm going CCD here. I do not trust Vance Joseph, as you know. I think the inside linebackers, we still need to figure that out. I know you lost Josie Jewell. Alex Singleton is a nice player, but the edge, you've got no legitimate pass rusher right now, at least on paper. I know I can like Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper from 2 years ago, but this is 2024, man. It's time to get to it. What say you, Thomas Hall? Special teams, offense, and defense on June 12th for Phil McLaughlin.
Yeah, like you said, it's a tough one to grade. But I'll tell you, just based on how bad special teams has been in the past and how much the gigantic improvement in special teams with Coach Westhoff and that crew, that was incredible to me. And yeah, they addressed some of the players and they made some, but the coaching really seemed to help significantly. So if I'm going to base that jump and then another year in the system with some more emphasis on special teams, I'm looking for that this special teams unit better be approaching an A. I mean, I'm giving it a B+, and we'll see how it goes at 7. Now, I'm not as optimistic about the other two units. One, I mean, you're probably gonna have a rookie quarterback starting on offense. The running game is still not. It doesn't seem like it's a real powerhouse. I mean, they really didn't make that many changes. You lost your center. I'm going unless the offense and Bo Nix, that's a perfect match. They're going to have a C. I just think it's a C performance from them. And the defense isn't, Vance Joseph led defense does not inspire me. They didn't make many improvements from last year. In fact, you could say they got worse at spots and a little bit better at a couple other spots. But I mean, I would have graded their performance at D last year, so I'm not going to give them anything better until I see otherwise. I think the D is going to be what they're going to be putting out on the field for the first several weeks for sure.
Put out a D, man. You're just a hater, Tom. What are you talking about? Jeff Willoughby coming in. Thanks for listening, Jeff. Just wondering why you should listen. Such a depressing show. Jeff, don't get me wrong. I am in on Sean Payton. I am in on Bo Nix. Sean Payton was my first choice. Bo Nix was not. I'm willing to give him a shot. I am excited that he's here. We have a ton of reason to be curious, to be excited. Go get your Bo Nix jersey. But I got to tell you, you can wear that Bo Nix jersey all you want, Jeff. I went out and bought Russell Wilson jersey, for my wife when all the quarterbacks have come through, right? How many jerseys have we all bought? There are serious concerns outside of the quarterback position. That's why I'm kind of getting after the Broncos, right? Vance Joseph, what do you feel good about Vance Joseph, Jeff? He leaves a lot to be desired, man. That offensive line, we don't know who the starting center is going to be. I see Broncos country talking about it in the comments. So, look, I hear you. To each their own. And maybe Vance Joseph is going to light the world on fire, and the Broncos are going to have a 2015 defense here in 2024. I don't see that right now. It's really tough. We call it like we see it. I will speak for Tom in that aspect. We're not a bunch of homers. This isn't that show. This isn't that pod. There's a different radio station. You can catch all of that. But do not get me wrong. I am excited. Here's where I would be absolutely depressed, Jeff, if the Broncos didn't get a first-round quarterback. I'm not saying Bo Nix is going to work out. I hope he does. I hope he's in Canton. I hope he's winning that Lombardi that Courtland Sutton referenced yesterday. But I can't go there yet.
Well, for me, it's hard to muster up a lot of enthusiasm and excitement every year when it's been 7 years of losing. It is. I mean, how can you muster up a lot of enthusiasm until they show you there's something to be enthusiastic about? The team is not that much better. If it might be a little bit worse this year than it was last year, depending on how the chips fall. So it's hard to be a rah guy about this team right now. Now, I mean, I definitely have my chance to change my mind when I see them come out and play lights out and everything's clicking, and then I can be excited. But it's just 7 years of terrible teams. After a while, you get tired of being excited.
No, I completely agree. And Jeff, I appreciate you in the comments, man. I try to go and look for some comments too that push back against us. Tom and I are constantly arguing, yelling at each other, pushing back. And I think it's only fair that we give our audience, as long as they're being fair, the same platform to do so. So thanks for listening, Jeff. Appreciate the feedback. Keith coming in here. I would like an answer from both of you. Man, Broncos country is coming after us tonight. I love it. The free agent the Broncos brought in that you think will make the biggest impact this season is?
You want me to grab it? Jonathan Franklin Myers, I think, is going to have a bigger impact in the pass defense. I'm still kind of suspect on the run defense, but I think in the pass rush, he's going to help out so much more than Jonathan Harris did and Mike Purcell did. I think he's going to be a very valuable addition to that defensive line rotation during pass rush opportunities.
I like it. I was gonna say that as well, but I'll change it up, right? So I'm not double dipping and Keith doesn't get after me. This was gonna surprise a lot of people, and I'm hoping I'm right. I would be shocked if I am. The free agent the Broncos brought in this year that will make the biggest impact this season will be wide receiver Josh Reynolds. And the reason I am saying wide receiver Josh Reynolds isn't so much that I think he's going to become the second coming of Megatron. He's not. He's a serviceable wide receiver. He's experienced. He's a journeyman. You know what you're getting in Josh Reynolds. I don't think Tim Patrick's going to make this team. I've said that. You've said that. I've been there both days at training camp that he's went down. We started the show saying the league waits for no one, especially injury-riddled players. Tim Patrick is an injury-riddled player. He always has been. That was his rep in college. That's not me being a hater. I like Tim Patrick a lot. He's been good to me in my dealings with him. He's a fan favorite, but this wide receiver room is in trouble. I do not think Courtland Sutton's ultimately going to be here in the regular season. The Broncos are going to have to ship him out for peanuts. And then what is your wide receiver room looking like? Your veteran players are Josh Reynolds and Lil Jordan Humphrey. You've got Marvin Mims, who Sean Payton said as much yesterday. He didn't play because Jerry Jeudy was stealing some of those reps. So who's going to be your wide receiver one when Courtland Sutton's not here? I don't think you're going to have one. I think it's going to be a lot by committee. I could see a situation where Josh Reynolds could be the wide receiver touchdown leader for the Broncos with maybe 7 or 8 here in 2024. I know, 7 or 8, not a lot, but when you look at the core unit, man, I think there's trouble there.
Well, I kind of cheated, I guess. Scott pointed out that Jonathan Franklin Myers was actually a trade, not a free agent. I was thinking off-season acquisition, but technically I can't choose him. But
where'd he come from? Where'd he come? I'm forgetting. I thought it
was a trade during the draft. He came in from the Jets over a trade.
That's right.
So I'm going to go back to the defensive line, and I'm going to say Roach. Malcolm Roach. Only because I'm hoping, and this is all me hoping that he's going to be good, because the Broncos need some better run defense than they had last year. And he kind of fits the bill. He's kind of known for that. Hopefully he can take that next step. He's been a spot starter during his career. So hopefully he takes that next step and really improves the rushing defense. But I mean, I wasn't overly impressed with a whole bunch of free agent signings. I mean, they were all they weren't superstar signings. I mean, they were all kind of depth signings or, hopeful starter signings. So the free agent acquisitions there's not one that you're like, oh man, that we got a good one. Like last year, I thought Zach Allen was going to be coming into his own, be a great player. And it didn't really come out. He did okay, but it wasn't great. But there wasn't anybody that I saw that I was like, oh man, yeah, this is a great addition.
Every year the Broncos dupe me. Every single year at training camp. I'm out there, you're out there, and every year I get duped. I'm writing about Jerry Jeudy being a training camp MVP 2 years in a row. Then last year I'm writing about Zach Allen being the training camp MVP. And he was. He absolutely dominated. And Jerry Jeudy did 2 summers ago too. But training camp and the NFL, man, they are 2 different things. Jacob Hutton coming in with a very generous $5 super. Thank you, Jay. Really appreciate you joining Scott, Tom, and I every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain here on MHI. I've got a question for you, Tom. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it short, keep it sweet. Is Courtland Sutton an elite wide receiver?
No.
Should the Denver Broncos pay Courtland Sutton his raise?
No, because I don't think he deserves it. I don't know why he's asking for it. He's not elite. Now, don't get me wrong. Without him catching those touchdown passes that he caught, those amazing catches, the team wouldn't have won as many games as they did, no doubt. But he's not a player that scares the defense. I mean, when I'm thinking of an elite player, an elite wide receiver, that's someone who the defense has to be concerned about. And no, they're not concerned about Courtland Sutton. Yeah, I mean, he's their number one guy and you don't want him to, roam free or anything, but they're not going, oh God, what are we going to do about Courtland Sutton? He's not elite. He shouldn't be asking for more money at this point until he's really shown that he's, recovering from that injury, is getting 1,200 yards at least in, another 10 touchdown season. Then you go out and say, give me that money. So I don't think they're going to give him the raise. I think he's just going to have to suck it up and come back.
I completely agree with you. Co-sign everything that you just said there. And I want to add this element and this wrinkle into it because Scott brings up a good point. When you're talking about leverage, when you're talking about Courtland Sutton, Scott weighed in on this, and I want to give him credit. I mean, here's an interesting thought. Maybe the Broncos do have all the leverage. You know why? What if the Denver Broncos are planning on it not being a jam-packed Super Bowl year? All right. What if they are not planning or foreseeing themselves being in the playoffs, and it's a bad year for the Broncos? It's another losing year. It's a 500 year. A 500 year would technically be an improvement. It would still be looked at as unacceptable for Broncos country. I know. I would be happy if it was 500 at the end of the day. Would I be satisfied? Absolutely not. But I would be thrilled with some sort of improvement. I just don't know what Courtland Sutton's thinking here, what his agents are thinking here. I mean, there are all kinds of political trials and everything that's court TV politicized. And sometimes you hear about lawyers giving away leverage. What is his agent thinking with leverage here? I mean, what they think that because Courtland Sutton's the longest tenured wide receiver in the room, that Sean Payton just absolutely has to have him here? No, Sean Payton didn't pick Courtland Sutton. And outside of Courtland Sutton and Garrett Bowles, those are the two longest Broncos that are tenured here. We're starting to wonder about Garrett Bowles' future. Yep. So it's just so tough for me. I completely agree with you, but I got to say, if Courtland Sutton gets traded, it was the Broncos' fault that it didn't work out because they should have done it earlier. It's not even that they couldn't come to an agreement with Courtland. It's not even that what they wanted to do. The timing of this. Did you not learn from Jerry Jeudy? You could have traded him on the Halloween deadline or right before. Instead, you had to wait till the spring, the end of winter. I mean, give me an absolute break. And for some reason, Courtland Sutton's value, is it only going to increase for other teams during mandatory minicamp here in June? Absolutely not. I think this is Sean Payton and Courtland Sutton trying to be nice to each other, but we all know niceness and money don't mix.
Yeah, no, it's true. All what you said is and the Broncos probably could have gotten more value out of both of them earlier than they did when they're trading them later. I mean, I just think they could have. So, it's interesting. I think Courtland Sutton at some point needs to see reality and be like, you know what? I'm coming to play. And then after I have a great season, because I'm betting on myself, then we'll talk contract. And at that point, he's probably going to go somewhere else.
That's just it. I mean, come to some sort of reality, live in it. I mean, I know he's up there talking about having a great connection with his buddy Russ yesterday, but Courtland Sutton is not living in reality, a lot like his buddy Russ. I mean, Courtland's up there, Tom, saying, I want to hoist a Lombardi in Denver. That's going to happen in the next 2 seasons. He's up there talking about, I want to be in the Ring of Fame. Well, I want $3 million too, Courtland, but how realistic is it to go get it? You got Russ out there saying the same thing. I want to win 8 more Lombardis. I mean, at a certain point, it's just like, what are your people telling you? What are your agents telling you? How prepared are you? I mean, go get that bag, dude. You got to do what you got to do. But both sides, I'm thinking, are just handling this in a really, really terrible way. Phil circling back around. Thank you so much, Phil. Really appreciate the support and the enthusiastic chat as always. With the Bo Nix, Troy Franklin connection, could we have a surprise receiver?
No, I mean, I think that that their familiarity will help, but I think Franklin is not, he'll probably get more catches than you would expect because of the familiarity, but I think he's got some holes in his game that he's got to work on before he's going to be take that next step in the NFL. Plus, he's a smaller guy. His durability is a concern. So it would be great if it did. And I think he'll get more touches because of, that connection that he has, but it won't be a huge amount.
Who he kind of reminds me of coming into the NFL was Justin Simmons. Super thin and lengthy, right? And I think Justin's taller than Troy Franklin, but 6'2", 187 pounds. He reminds me a little bit of the Slim Reaper out there in Philly, right? I'm like, bro, we need to get 13 pounds of muscle on you at least, so we could say you're at 200, maybe list you at 205.
But not the same skill set as the Slim
N-
Reaper,
No, not at all. And here's the thing too. I was super excited when Troy Franklin was drafted by the Broncos. Super excited. Bo Nix got his best friend from college. Here's the thing, and checking in with people that I trust. And I wasn't on the road this year, right? So I'm really leaning on a lot of folks in terms of NFL rookies talent evaluations. Troy Franklin is going to drop some balls this year. Could be dropping them in training camp. Could be having some issues with the route tree a little bit. These are some things that I think we're going to see from a rookie wide receiver that's figuring out life in the NFL. We see it every year all over the league in a variety of positions. Why am I saying this? Don't be surprised when it happens, because right now you hear the story and on paper it's going to be a fairy tale. And Bo Nix and Troy Franklin are going to ride off into the sunset and play their whole NFL careers together here in Denver. They're going to be the best quarterback wide receiver pair in the history of the franchise. But before that happens, know this. Troy Franklin is going to drop balls. Bo Nix is going to throw interceptions. The rookies will struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. That's what I said earlier in the show. I mean, people projecting this incredible stat line and stuff for Bo Nix, man, if you really truly believe that, you're probably going to have a rude awakening, because it's most likely not going to happen.
That's what my guy Lawrence is saying. Tea time with Larry coming in here. He's saying, what's up, guys? I'm not buying into the hype of the rookies. Bo is still looking late and too clingy on the ball like he was in college. As for wide receivers, I think Sean's been drinking too much of Elway's juice. I just don't see any upgrades. If we want a plus 500 season with our squad, the Walton Penn ownership group better give the best life security and a fat check. Now, Lawrence, man, you're picking up right where we're at. I know Lawrence is a little disappointed with the way the draft ended up. And there are a lot of us out there in Broncos country. I'm always disappointed with how the draft ends up, right? They never pick every single one of my guys because I know best, Tom. But no, I'm right there with you, Lawrence, man. Look, there's a lot of improvement that needs to happen. The wide receiver room is looking pretty bare. You're right. I don't know how many improvements actually happen there. And that's on Sean, right? The running back room. What's the plan there? You've got 5 or 6 guys competing out there. And I've got a funny feeling, and there are whispers right now here in the Mile High City. I mean, maybe your 2 veteran guys are on the outside looking in Javonte Williams and Samaje Perine. That's what's being talked about today. I know it's just Wednesday, June 12th. But as for the Bo Nix looking late and too clingy on the ball, I'm curious how you got that opinion, Lawrence, and I'm not getting after you. I'm just kind of challenging you a little bit. I haven't been out there, so I'm seeing the same stuff you're seeing. It's hard for me to judge a quarterback too much on a Facebook clip or a YouTube short. I need to get out there and I need to see him. Ozzie Newsome told me years ago, the first time I met him on the road, do not YouTube scout. And I say that every year. And Lawrence, I know you know your quarterbacks, man, but we got to give Bo a chance, and maybe Courtland will help him look a lot better.
Yeah. Well, and you forgot another position group that looks rough, and that's tight end group.
Oh,
so they don't have a lot of skill player strength. It's funny, and I jumped on the Gil Whiteley show this last week, and he said that he thinks Perine's gone. He thinks Perine's going to be a trade candidate, and he thinks he's already going to be out soon. So
a trade candidate? Who's going to trade for Samaje Perine?
He has a little bit of value. They might get a 7th rounder for him, but yeah, he doesn't think he's going to be around. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the makeup of the skill position group when week 1. It's because it's going to be very interesting based on what we've seen in the past with injury histories. You got a disgruntled wide receiver. You got Dulcich, who can't even get on the field during mandatory minicamp because of injury. It's just, man, it's there's going to have to, all I got to say is somebody's going to have to step up big time if this is going to, if they're going to see a huge improvement in the skill positions this year.
Remember, Sean Payton's answer to the tight end room is, again, Adam Troutman, who was the most effective tight end. And Sean Payton's been singing the praise of Lucas Kroll. We've talked about that on this show. It is very apparent that Sean Payton loves himself some Lucas Kroll.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait until I got to see it on that one. I'm holding on to some of those receipts just because I'm not so sure. But tight end has been tough, right? I mean, everybody likes to talk about Jake Butt and him not working out. Let's go back even further to the Flash, Jeff Hireman. I mean, we can really go Troy Fumagalli. How far do we want to go down the list of failed Broncos tight ends? I mean, what you got another one that's playing down there, Andrew Beck in Houston, right? He's the fullback / tight end, whatever you want to call him. And now I know that role has been supplemented to Michael Burton, but the tight end position, Tom, Greg Dulcich, man, can we get rid of him? Talking about trading people, let's throw him in with Samaje Perine and let's just start over because I don't have an answer at tight end. And speaking of positional rooms, man, Keith is firing away. I absolutely love it. How many Broncos currently on the roster this year that were on the roster last year will not be on the roster come week 1?
Wow. Well, they've already gotten rid of quite a bit, right? I mean, I think they've started the purge already. I think it to me, it's going to be somebody who's kind of from the old guard. So, like I said, Courtland Sutton, maybe one of those, from the old guard who's gone. It's hard to put a number on that.
I got it. Let's do it. Let's just go through it, Tom.
Okay.
So you said it. So I'm with you. Let's say Samaje Perine. I don't think he's going to be traded. No disrespect to Gil, but it's just like, dude, nobody's going to trade for that guy. So Samaje Perine, there's one. Yeah. My guy that I brought up, Tim Patrick. I don't think Tim Patrick's making this team. I think you agree with me on that one. There's two. Courtland Sutton, we've agreed on that so far this show. We think that's probably going to be a trade. There's 3. Javonte Williams, man, he is struggling out there. I hate to put him up there as an automatic 4 because you're already losing one with Samaje Perine, but you're not carrying 5 to 6 running backs, all right? So they love the kid out of Notre Dame, Estime, right, who's dealing with something right now, I think a hamstring. They're milking him along. Jaleel McLaughlin they like a lot. I mean, it's just there's 4 players right there, Tom. When we're looking at Garrett Bowles, what's the future like for Garrett? They're not going to extend him. Is he going to get upset with his contract? He hasn't made any noise. When is that going to change? I mean, so there's 5 players all on offense, kind of, Tom. I mean, we're missing some defensive guys, or are the cupboards that bare?
Damari Mathis is a candidate for me to be gone. He did not make that leap and got benched for Fabian Moreau. He's a possibility to get cut, especially if Riley Moss steps it up. They drafted, the new regime drafted Riley Moss. So I think Damari Mathis is a candidate. One of the edge rushers may be a candidate as well.
Ooh, Jonathan Cooper probably not on this team if he doesn't pick it up. Or what's Baron Browning? You've spent half your career in the injury room here in Denver. I mean,
there's a number of players that you can go through that weren't just like a third stringer that played special teams, but some prominent players that, I mean, not all of them are going to be gone, but you can see that there's a chance that some of them could easily not be on this team. So there's a number of them.
You're right. Delarian Turner-Riel, I don't foresee him making this football team. And I'm not a Caden Stearns fan. I'm not. He will make this team, don't get me wrong. But JL Skinner, I was disappointed. You were disappointed last year. What's going on with that? I know that this fan base loves PJ Locke. I mean, they absolutely love him. He's all right. He's a nice enough player. I liked what was the kid last year that was the nickel? McMillan.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy, man. Can we get more of him on the field?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, like, there's maybe 8 or 9 right there. Really good question. And Greg Dulcich, how long are we going to wait around on Greg Dulcich? You look at the tight end room, it's pretty full. You got Nate Atkins, Greg Dulcich, Lucas Kroll, some guy named Dylan Leonard, Adam Troutman, and then Thomas Yasmin. It's just, man, I mean, you're probably looking at a few of those guys taking the release or going on waivers as well. And Riptide, man, thank you for coming back in. Really appreciate your support tonight. Very active in our chat. Javonte Williams is the running back 1. Not buying the rumors at all. Tom, the rumors are, and I'll just address this because Riptide's heard him too. Rumors are Javonte looks slow. He looks heavy-legged. He looks like there's a lot of rust on there. We're not sure how many more miles are left. A lot of people are concerned with Javonte Williams. I think a lot of people are worried about Javonte Williams. Why? Because we all love Javonte and Mr. Angry Runs. We love Pookie, right? We love our guy 3-3. But for whatever reason, man, a lot of my friends, a lot of very well respected reporters that aren't my friends that are out there are saying Javonte doesn't look the same. What say you, Tom?
Well, I don't know. I'm not out there. I haven't been privy to the information that you have, but I'll just say this. That was a significant injury. And the chances of him ever returning to his old self are slim. They did a study on it. I've talked about it before. It's something like, I can't remember the exact numbers. An injury like his, like 12% ever return to their old kind of production. So there may be something in that his knee just is, it's just gonna take a lot longer for him to be back in form, and he may never be back in form. I hope not. When he was a rookie, he was automatically one of my favorite players. I loved watching him, but that injury took its toll, and hopefully he can overcome it. Hopefully it's something else, maybe something mental that he's got to work through. But I really hope he's the number one running back. And he plays like he played when he was a rookie. But I can't hold out too much hope for that based on what I know about his injury. Although there wasn't nerve damage, so that's good, but still major injury.
Absolutely brutal. Remember, he's a linebacker that's playing running back. That's how he plays the game.
Yeah.
He was quite literally a linebacker at high school too that played, but I mean, he's that physical style.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I'm worried about Pookie. I'm pulling for him. Don't get me wrong. Mike E coming in. Mike Edel, a huge super. Thank you so much, Mike. Really, really appreciate your love. Hey, Thomas, Luke, and Scott. What's up, Broncos country? Haven't been in. Wanted to show some love. You definitely did so, Mike. Also wishing Gary Leeds Palmer a happy belated birthday. That's really kind of you, Mike. Happy belated birthday to our own Gary Leeds Palmer. How do you guys feel if Jarrett Stidham starts? Go Broncos.
Not good.
Yeah. How do I feel? Pissed off, frustrated, throwing a fit. I mean, that's going to be me driving away from the training center and training camp if I see Jarrett Stidham start. My immediate question would be why? Just like everybody else. Why does Jarrett Stidham need to start? Is he a placeholder? Yes. Or why? Why did you draft Bo Nix in the first round? I mean, like, there are so many whys to go around there, but I would be disgusted if Jarrett Stidham started. Why? Because he's not an atrocious quarterback, but I just don't understand the plan. That's like going out and buying a new truck and then waiting a year to drive it, or waiting 6 weeks to drive. What are we waiting to drive it for? Are you scared it's going to get a scratch on the road? Are you scared the tires might get a little dirt? They're going to, I promise. No car is ever perfect. Why wait?
Well, from my perspective, Stidham started. We've seen Stidham play. We know he's not going to be an elite quarterback. He could be serviceable. He could be a good backup quarterback in this league. A lot of people make a great career of that. But what it means to me is if Stidham is starting this year, Bo Nix wasn't, because we all know that if it's close, Bo Nix he's going to be the one starting. It would mean that he's still so far off from Stidham, who isn't spectacular, and that would indicate that there's some sort of issue that maybe this first round draft choice isn't the guy that's going to turn the franchise around. Now, I don't want to write the guy off after a rookie season where he needed to learn everything, but for all intents and purposes, Sean Payton, he was his guy. He says he can run this offense the way he wants it to be run, and that we're taking him at what he's saying. And if he is not the starter, that indicates that this is going to be another go out and get another first round quarterback possibly in a couple of years to me. And that's the problem with Stidham. Not necessarily just that Stidham stinks. That would be the hardest thing for me to take. Is now I'm thinking Bo Nix does not have what it takes to turn the franchise around. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, he better be starting week 1, really. I mean, I really think that would indicate that he is the guy.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Payton's going out of his way to tell us how he loves Bo Nix so much. You're exactly right. What kind of message are you sending to this fan base and the rest of the NFL if you have concerns and don't want to start him? You're always going to have concerns. It's the NFL. Life is imperfect. Buckle up. Here's another caveat, just to tie a big red bow on that. You can't go out and call your rookie quarterback or compare him to Drew Brees. All right. Yeah. Like right now he's comparing him to Drew Brees. And I know I'm looking at Pro Football Reference right now. Drew got 1 game under his belt back in 2001. Went 15 for 27, 221, and a touchdown, 0 interceptions. I mean, like, we know the history with Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees and the Chargers and the Saints and Sean Payton, but yeah, you can't be comparing a future Hall of Fame quarterback to your rookie first rounder and not let him start. I mean, I would raise hell, as would Broncos country. And Michael Brinquillo, great show tonight. Thomas and Luke on MHI. Go Broncos. A super fun show, man. Thanks for riding with us. It was great to be back. I needed the show. I've been having a hell of a week. I know it's craziness out there in this world, the summer heat. Thank you guys so much for allowing us the opportunity to wrap Broncos football with you every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain.
I'm just glad that I'm not hacking away in the microphone this time. Like, I'm finally, I mean, I still have a cough, but I'm finally feeling better. So I'm just glad to make it through the show without having a coughing fit. So that's a plus.
That's true. Tom, go get yourself a cigarette on that lovely note. No, Tom, I'm glad you're feeling better, guys. Be sure to take care of yourselves this summer. And a quick Mile High hello and welcome back to our guy, Kenneth Booker. He's always ornery on our show, but he's one of ours. He's been one of ours. He's enjoying a second stint with Mile High Huddle. Get ready for some great articles. Maybe we'll have him on the show. We can yell at each other. He can yell at us. We can yell at each other. And KB's one of my guys, man. So a huge tip of the cap to KB. Welcome back. We've missed you and can't wait for the season ahead. Do not forget my guys, DVA and Ron White on Saturday night at 6 p.m. Mountain. Always make sure you hit that like button on the way in and follow. Remember, a little bit does go a long way. If you'd like to reach out to Tom on X, please do so at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com where we have all of the mandatory minicamp articles up and running, everything that is Broncos. Follow the mothership at Mile High Huddle and give us a follow as well at MHI_pod. Tom, great show, man. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I loved it. It was great. It's great having you back. And, once it's going to be obviously more fun once things really start happening in Broncos country, but it's still fun to, the questions we got tonight were great. I loved them.
Broncos, take care of business with Courtland Sutton, one way or the other. This has got to be the way.
This is the way.